There have been many updates in World of Tanks Blitz, some of them big, some of them small, but I would personally have to say that update 8.0 will be the largest update ever in World of Tanks Blitz, or at least until the future can tell, because this update is bringing so many things into the game. We've got the Blitz Turn 7 event bringing the Kuhn's Panzer, we've got the PBR files for the new Yo line, the new Yo line itself, we've got many buffs and changes and balances to vehicles, tier 10, lower tiers, tier 8, like the T28, and there are just so many changes. Dynamic suspension. This has got to be one of the biggest updates ever in the game, and I'm very excited to be telling you everything you need to know about it in today's video. So obviously, if you want to see more videos like this on future news and informations you want to hear, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. I'll try and tell you everything that I personally do know about the game and what I think from a professional aspect. God, I was having a bit of a stroke there trying to say that. But first of all, we've got the new Yo line itself, the tier 10, the daddy of the Yos. This vehicle is, to what I'm aware, going to be staying the same from what its current testing patches to what it's going to be when it comes into the game. And I think it's still a little bit strong, but you never know until these vehicles actually hit the actual game itself, because the test server, it really doesn't tell you much, to be completely honest. So I don't know about the Yo. I think that it's a little bit strong, but honestly, I don't know if Wargaming is going to need to change much on them. They're pretty well balanced. But the Tier 9 is a different story. It is definitely an overpowered vehicle. The M5 Yo it doesn't have the most DPM, sure, but the Kron doesn't have the most DPM, and so does the Emil 2. You don't need DPM to be strong, because this vehicle has the same potential damage in 1.71 seconds as an FV2 and 5B183 at Tier 9. That means in Tier 8 battles, you're able to take off half of any tank's hit point pool, even more than half, in a matter of 1.71 seconds. That is overpowered, and the Tier 9 will definitely be nerfed, at least in my professional opinion. The Tier 8, I think, should also be tweaked a little. The intro clip of 2.71 seconds should be changed to 3. Other than that, I think the vehicle's fine, and the Tier 7, I think, is fine as its own. It doesn't really have anything special for it. Yeah, I really don't know what to say about the Tier 7. That is the Yo line on itself. I've talked a lot about each vehicle individually apart from the Tier 7, so if you want to go check those out, go check out the other videos on my channel posted in the last couple of days. But we're specifically going to be talking about the updated parameters and changes in vehicles coming and vehicles that are already in the game. So the first change we have goes on the Kampfpanzer 50-ton, a vehicle that I thought was decent. You know, I didn't think there was anything spectacular about it, but I think when I made my video firstly talking about the stats, I said I think it's going to be balanced. There's nothing overpowered, but there's nothing underpowered. Now we've got a problem, because this vehicle is starting to look really strong. Even though the armor is not fantastic on the turret, the hull is ridiculously strong. And with the Super Troll hull, the turret's about the E50M's thickness, that's already pretty dang strong. But then they've increased the rate of fire by a whole round a minute. The reload went from 6.62 to 5.94. And by the way, one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that this vehicle's stats shown here are not the actual stats of it in-game, because these stats here are without crew added in, and as well without provisions and rammer and whatever you're going to run on it. So the DPM on this vehicle is going to be really, in reality, about the same as a T62A. It's pretty dang insane. It's going to have great DPM as well. You can see the traverse speed went up a whole 8 degrees, which is a lot. Its terrain resistance got way better. Overall, this vehicle just looks like it's going to be an absolute powerhouse of a tank, with its effective power to weight ratio going up, dispersion factors getting way better on the move. Honestly, this vehicle seems like it's a little bit too strong. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. I know Pantoof had some different opinions. I didn't actually get to watch the video, but just looking at the title, I'd hope that the title says what he says in the video. The vehicle seems too strong, to my personal opinion. Even if the tank didn't have any armor, we all know how the Leopard 1 is. It's insane because of the great DPM and the alpha behind it. This vehicle is going to have practically the same damage per minute as a Leopard 1, but then it's not penetrable with HE, or pretty much penetrable at all without heat on the front. So yeah, that's pretty strong. I'm going to have to see how that comes out. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Obviously, AE Phase 1, that's just the change of the tank. The T-54, penetration up 5. Oh boy, that's not going to change much. The Pershing got a slight rate of fire buff, but is that really even a buff? 0.3 off of the reload? Like, really? It made the DPM go up barely even 100. That's on HE. Sorry, it made the DPM go up about 70. Oh boy, that's that's not really a change. I'm sorry there, Wargaming, but yeah, that's not a change. Same for the T44, that 5mm of AP pen, that's not going to change much. But the T54 Mod 1 and the T44-100, which both carry the same engine, for some reason were buffed. I have a feeling that these vehicles are either going to be sold in a bundle together, or they are going to be in an event, because I don't know why they would buff vehicles that hasn't been talked about ever. So, the T54 Mod 1 is going to have an engine power boost of about 40, which is going to raise the power to weight about 1, which doesn't sound like much, but it actually can increase your top speed by a decent amount getting up to it, so not too bad. Same for the T44-100, and as you can see, the T44-100 not only got these buffs, but as well got that 175 to 180 millimeter pen buff. For some reason, the Mod 1 did not. The T25-2, which already has very strong DPM, is going to be getting a lot stronger. In fact, if we take a look and look at the new tab, we can take a look at how much DPM the T25-2 already has at 2800. And we can see how much they're adding, which is, where's the T25-2? They're adding about 100 DPM, so the T25-2 is going to be sitting at base 3000 damage per minute now. That is very, very impressive. That means that a T25-2, just a tier 7 tank destroyer with, 225 alpha, decent penetration, is going to be a really, really strong tank destroyer now. I'm definitely going to have to play that when it comes out. The only thing I don't get is they buffed the T25-2, but the Super Hellcat that's going to be coming into the game eventually doesn't seem like it's getting any changes lately, which means that, honestly, the T25-2 just seems like a better Super Hellcat. And finally, obviously, the Blitz Turn 7, the Kunstpanzer. Now, the Kunstpanzer is actually seeming pretty dang cool, and I think they've actually made the gold. I can't tell. This is old, and this is new, but I feel like they leave the gold value at 1, right? Not 5,000, because you could sell the tank for 5,000 gold, which is quite a bit. So I don't know about that, but overall, the Kunstpanzer, that's going to be the reward tank. Now, there are also changes to armor. The Pershing is going to be getting a slight buff on the armor, but as you can see, it's really not going to change anything, so we don't need to go over that. The T32 will be getting a upper plate buff. If we take a look at 7.9, you can see that just flat out aiming at the upper plate, it's about 204 millimeters thick. And if we take a look at 8.0 and we look flat on that upper plate, we just ooh-doo-doo-ba-doo, it's going to be about 250. That's a very, very big buff. In fact, if you fully haul down here, that means that the T32's upper plate's going to be over 320 millimeters thick, compared to previously if we use this thing fully hauled down, and it's going to be about 284. That's a big buff. That's about 50 millimeters or 40 millimeters or so of added armor on the upper plate of the T32. Now, I don't think that's going to make the vehicle stupid strong, because still the T32 has one of the most inaccurate guns in the game, and it's so irritable why. It's like 0.37 dispersion, but on the vehicle itself, I think it will be a very decent vehicle now because of that frontal armor. It's going to make it a lot better for vehicles or people trying to grind down the line. Now, the T28 is one of the most useless vehicles, in my opinion, in Tier 8, even though you could do well in it. And I make this argument on any vehicle, and any player that tries to complain that the vehicle's bad, sure, it's not better than some of the other tanks in the game, but the T28 can still hold its own, and I've had some 5Ks in it. The T28 is going to be getting a massive buff on the frontal armor and the side armor. The sides, which are normally 50 millimeters thick, easy to butter through, and the front, which is about 230, which is actually decently thick, are going to be getting a massive change. The sides are now going to be 101. That is a 50 millimeter buff, doubled in thickness. Ooh boy, that's going to be a big old change. That means this thing can actually side scrape pretty dang impressively. But as well, the frontal plate went from about 230, as you saw, to 250, a 20 millimeter buff on that front. Overall, the T28 is going to be a lot stronger. Still, in my opinion, not going to be a great vehicle, but it'll be able to hold its own against some Tier 8s, I guess. But I don't know. The T28 just, it's not a great tank. They've still got the cupolas, but I am going to test it when it does get buffed, because we're going to find out if it does get better. The Centurion, I don't actually know. Yeah, it's really not much of a change. It got a little bit of a mantlet buff. Churchill gun carrier, though, oh boy, once again, getting a little bit more armor. Churchill gun carrier went from 130 millimeters thick on that front to, let's take a guess. I'm going to say 150. Yes, 150. It's actually starting to get decently thick. Like, if you use this thing fully hauled down, it's about 100. Oh, okay, never mind. It's 155. I take it back. Churchill gun carrier, still poo-poo. And finally, we have the BDR G1B, the Tier 5 French heavy tank. It's actually getting a huge nerf on the turret, which I agree with. The turret of the tank was definitely overpowered. It's about 170 to 180 millimeters thick dead on, and the cupola, Well, if you take a look at that, the upper part's about 300, the middle part's very troll, 150, and this part here, for some reason, I don't know why, ranges upwards of 150 to 200 millimeters thick. Makes no sense. In update 8.0, that's going to be changing. You're going to see this cupola becomes way, way weaker. Aiming dead on now, the upper part of that cupola is still strong, but yeah, it's definitely not as strong here. It's definitely weaker, 90 millimeters thick. And the turret edges are now going to be 150, which means that most standard ammo or premium rounds are easily going to penetrate that with any tier 5 in the game. That's good. That means that an overpowered vehicle will be balanced. So, what do I have to say about Update 8.0 in total? Obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming into the game, but I'm very excited to see how these vehicles are going to look. And for anybody wondering what the 3D model of the weird noodle, the syringe, whatever you want to call it, looks like, it's weird. It's a very weird tank. The turret's going to be decently thick, but it's also not. You can see it's very easy to overmatch this. In fact, since it's only 46 millimeters thick, that means that any 150s are aiming up here, easily going to overmatch it. Such a weird line, but hopefully all of you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. But other than that, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.